Hello, dear viewers. A very warm welcome to you on this beautiful day. You're watching English Passage, your favorite destination to learn English through stories. I'm truly excited that you're joining me for day 10 of our English learning journey. If you've been following this series from the beginning, congratulations, you've already made amazing progress. And if today is your first time with us, I'm so happy to have you. You're in the right place because here at English Passage, we believe that English is best learned not through boring drills, but by listening to rich, meaningful stories. Today's topic is both simple and powerful. We're going to learn how to form clear negative sentences in the present tense using don't and doesn't correctly. This might sound easy, but trust me, many English learners get confused here. So we'll not only explain it, we'll make it unforgettable with deep theory, a clear explanation, and a beautiful story that helps everything make sense. Let's begin. What are negative sentences in the present tense? Let's begin with a basic question. What is a negative sentence? A negative sentence is one that says something is not happening, not true, or not possible. It is the opposite of a positive or affirmative sentence. It allows us to express refusal, contradiction, limitation, or a lack of action. For example, if someone says, I eat breakfast, they are telling us a fact. But if someone says, I don't eat breakfast, they are negating that fact. They are saying it does not happen. Now, let's look specifically at the present simple tense. This tense is used when we talk about habits, facts, and things that are generally true. And when we want to negate something in the present simple, we don't change the main verb itself. Instead, we use an auxiliary verb, in this case, the verb do in its negative form. In English, to make a present simple negative sentence, we use don't, a contraction of do not, doesn't, a contraction of does not. The choice between don't and doesn't depends entirely on the subject of the sentence. Using don't. We use don't when the subject is I, you, we, or they. These are subjects that refer to the speaker, the person being spoken to, or a group of people including the speaker. When we use don't, we are saying that someone does not do something regularly, by habit, or in general. For example, saying I don't eat meat tells us that eating meat is not something you usually do. Saying they don't go to school on Sundays means that this activity does not happen as part of their routine. In every sentence using don't, the main verb stays in its base form, the simple, unmodified form of the verb. You do not add s, ed, or ing, just the plain verb. Using doesn't. We use doesn't when the subject is he, she, it, or a singular noun like the teacher, my friend, or the cat. When using doesn't, you are also negating an action in the present tense. For instance, if you say, she doesn't like coffee, it tells us something about her preferences. It's not a temporary thing, it's part of her regular choices or personality. Similarly, saying, it doesn't rain much here is talking about the general weather in a location. And again, the most important rule, after doesn't, always use the base form of the verb. Do not add s even though the subject is third person singular. The does part has already taken care of that, so the main verb stays unchanged. Why base form only? This is a rule that English learners often find tricky. In affirmative sentences with he, she, or it, we often add s to the verb. For example, he likes tea. But in the negative form, the auxiliary doesn't carries the subject and the tense, so the main verb returns to its basic form. This is an important rule because changing the main verb when it's not needed creates incorrect sentences that sound unnatural or awkward. Mistakes to avoid. Let's quickly look at what not to do. Here are examples of errors learners often make. She doesn't goes to work. Incorrect, because goes is not the base form. They doesn't like music. Incorrect, because the subject they requires don't, not, doesn't. He don't eat meat. Incorrect, because he is third person singular and needs doesn't. Instead, say, she doesn't go to work. They don't like music. He doesn't eat meat. Understanding this pattern is crucial. Once you grasp it, you'll be able to form clear, confident sentences that reflect your thoughts accurately. Let's now experience how these grammar rules come alive through a story. Listen carefully and observe how natural it feels when don't and doesn't are used in real dialogue and narration. The Curious Twins. Once upon a time, in a quiet village surrounded by green meadows and tall trees, there lived two twins named Sam and Sarah. They were known all over the village for their curiosity. Every day was an adventure. They climbed trees, watched insects, played in the fields, and asked hundreds of questions. Sam loved books. He would spend hours reading in the attic, where an old bookshelf stood filled with dusty encyclopedias, fairy tales, and storybooks. Sarah didn't understand the joy of sitting still with a book. She doesn't enjoy reading. Books don't answer back, she would say, curling up in the garden instead, watching butterflies and drawing sketches. The twins lived with their grandparents. Their grandfather was a retired teacher. He was very punctual. He doesn't sleep in, even on weekends. The son doesn't wait for anyone, he often said. Their grandmother was warm and loving but had rules. She doesn't allow sweets before dinner. Your teeth don't need extra work, she'd say with a chuckle. Every morning, the twins wake up early. They don't use an alarm clock. Instead, birds chirping by the window and golden sunlight are their natural wake-up call. They don't eat breakfast quickly. Instead, they sit with their grandparents talking about their plans for the day. On school days, Sam carries his favorite math puzzles in his pocket. Sarah brings her colored pencils. Sam loves math problems and logic games. Sarah doesn't like numbers. Numbers don't tell stories, she'd complain while sketching clouds on her notebook. Their teacher, Miss Pinto, is kind but firm. She doesn't tolerate laziness. She always says, learning doesn't happen by accident. It takes effort. One rainy afternoon, the twins found a strange envelope under the doormat. It was sealed with wax and had no name. Inside was a note. If you don't solve this riddle before sunset, the flowers in your garden won't bloom tomorrow. Sam looked at Sarah. We don't know who sent this. Sarah nodded. But we don't want to lose our flowers. They started their search. Clue by clue, they explored the attic, the kitchen, even the woodshed. They talked to the gardener, but he doesn't know anything about mysterious riddles. Time passed. The sun moved lower in the sky. Sam paused. Maybe we're not supposed to look outside. Maybe the answer is here. Sarah thought for a moment. She looked at the bookshelf. Books don't lie, she said quietly. They opened an old storybook, and inside, hidden between pages, was a drawing of the garden and a symbol they recognized from the riddle. Beneath the apple tree, just as the drawing had shown, they dug carefully. They found a small wooden box. Inside was a tiny crystal and a note. Because you don't give up, beauty will bloom. The next morning, the garden was full of vibrant colors. Even the roses that hadn't opened in weeks were glowing. Their grandfather smiled. Looks like nature doesn't forget who takes care of it. Sarah, holding the crystal, whispered, books might not talk back, but they don't hide magic either. Your turn. Now it's time to test yourself with some practice. Listen carefully and respond aloud. I will say a positive sentence. Your task is to change it into a negative sentence using don't or doesn't. I'll give you time to think before I give the answer. Let's begin. She eats vegetables. You think she doesn't eat vegetables. They play in the park. You try it. They don't play in the park. He sings very well. He doesn't sing very well. I drink coffee every morning. I don't drink coffee every morning. It makes noise. It doesn't make noise. You speak loudly. You don't speak loudly. Now let's try a few where you create both the positive and the negative sentence on your own. I'll say a subject and a verb, and you build the sentences. Subject: my friend. Verb: like pizza. Positive: my friend likes pizza. Negative: my friend doesn't like pizza. Subject: we. Verb: go shopping. Positive: we go shopping. Negative: we don't go shopping. You're doing great. Repeat this kind of practice daily. It helps develop fluency and natural confidence. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here on English Passage. I truly hope today's lesson helped you understand and feel confident using don't and doesn't in the present tense. Remember, learning a language is like planting a tree. It doesn't grow overnight, but with consistent care and nurturing, it becomes strong and beautiful. Today, you didn't just listen, you grew. You didn't just hear grammar, you experienced it. And I'm so proud of you for taking one more step on your journey. If you enjoyed this lesson, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a story or a new lesson. In our next video, we'll move to an exciting topic that builds on today's knowledge. So stay tuned. Until then, keep listening, keep learning, and remember, English is not just a subject, it's a passage. A passage to connect, to express, and to belong. See you next time on English Passage. Bye-bye, and happy learning. Jai Hind. Vande Matram.